So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to the reps for hosting us and helping us get the word out about this important program. The program is RentReliefRI. So Rhode Island was lucky enough to receive $352 million in federal assistance for rent and utility to help folks with their rent and utility payments, thanks to our congressional delegation. That money can be used to pay rent that is overdue. It can pay forward-facing rent. It can help with utility arrearages and certain other housing-related expenses, and we'll get into that in this presentation. And it's going to be available for a little while here. We have it until September 30th, 2022, between the different programs. So hopefully we'll be able to help a lot of folks. There are really 3 eligibility criteria to be able to access this resource. There's an income test, there's a COVID impact test, and there's a risk of housing instability or homelessness, and we'll walk through each of those criteria. So with regard to income, eligible households have to be at or below 80% of AMI's area median income. And basically what that means is for a family of 4, if you earn about $69,200 or less, then you're going to be eligible. You can see here the list of communities that are covered by this. It includes the area that we're talking about here today. And it changes a little bit by household size. So that income range is going to be a little different depending on the number of folks in your household. So COVID impact. This is a program that's designed to help people who have experienced a financial hardship as a result of the pandemic. Now that could be, if you are unemployment, if you qualify for unemployment benefits, that is straight up you're qualified. Another way to get there though is if you've experienced a reduction in your household income, if you've had, now that could be you lost a job or you had your hours reduced, or you could have experienced significant cost increases. So maybe you had to pay additional costs for utilities because you were at home, or maybe you had medical bills, or there's all kinds of different ways that people can demonstrate that they have a COVID impact, but those are some of the examples. The third criteria is the risk of housing instability. This one is pretty easy. Having a rental arrearage, having a past due utility bill, those qualify as putting someone at risk of housing instability. Also, if you're in the eviction process, if you have an eviction notice or a demand letter, or any other kind of documentation that shows that you're at risk of housing instability, those really are going to qualify you under this criteria. So what can the program be used to assist with? It can help you with past due rent. It can help you with up to 3 months of forward-facing rent at a time. And potentially more if you are still facing those challenges a little bit further down the road. It can be used to pay utility arrearages. Oop, hold on, I just lost here we go. Utility arrearages, and also relatively recently, forward-facing a $50 internet stipend. So that's a new thing, being able to assist with internet costs, which, as we've found during this pandemic, are so important to folks, both from job and education standpoint, as well as health. Utility costs can include electricity, gas, water, trash removal, energy costs, fuel oil, anything that the tenant is responsible for. And as I mentioned, applicants can receive up to 18 months of rent or utility assistance. So that can be a combination. So maybe you have, 6 months of back rent and utility arrearages, but also you need some forward-facing rental assistance. In total, you could be eligible for up to 18 months worth of assistance. So how do you access the resource? The website is www.rentreliefri.com. It's right up there on the screen. You can be a tenant or a landlord applying for assistance through that. There's a portal there. There's a click here to apply. A landlord or a tenant can start an application. We have a bunch of other ways to help people. So there's a lot of information on the website, a lot of information about the eligibility, frequently asked questions, all of that. We also have a call center. This is the number for it right here, 1-855-608-8756. The hours for the call center are posted on the website. We've got 130 folks working at the call center who are available to answer questions for folks who may be having a hard time filling out the application, or just to answer any questions they may have about where they stand in the application process. We also have are partnering with a number of organizations around the state to help people on the ground. So those organizations are also listed on the website. If you go to the website, there is an option to click on who the partners in the community are. You can pull that up and it will show you how to reach out to those folks if you need help in person or in the community, filling out your application. We were also just talking with Representative Knight a moment ago about folks in the eviction process. So we have partners who are in the courthouses and they are working with people who are in that eviction process right now to get them signed up and to get those arrearages paid for them. So what do you need to be ready with to make sure that your application can be processed quickly? So for tenants, we need to have some sort of proof of residency. We've got to have some kind of documentation that you live in this apartment. That can be a lot of different things: a bank statement, a utility bill, your driver's license, anything, any sort of formal documentation that shows that you are a resident of this apartment. Proof of income. So there's, again, a lot of different ways to get a proof of income. Obviously, a tax return, an unemployment letter if you've experienced unemployment, wage statements, lots of different ways that you can show what your income is. Also, for instance, if you're participating in a income qualifying program like SNAP, or any income qualifying program that meets the income limits that we have here, that's going to qualify you on the income side as well. A signed copy of your lease agreement or documentation showing tenancy. A lease is great if you have a lease, but you don't have to have a lease. There's a lot of other ways that you can show, including you can show that you have a pattern of rent payment, or you can show receipts from your landlord. Or there's a lot of ways. Again, don't have to have a signed lease agreement to be able to show proof that you have a tenancy in an apartment. And documentation demonstrating your arrearage, whether that's a utility arrearage, a bill from your utilities, an eviction notice, a demand letter, any kind of communication from your landlord that demonstrates that you are behind on your rent. Also, just a note, if you've received a notice from the court for eviction proceedings, definitely include that as well. We do prioritize folks who are in the eviction process, obviously, since they are facing an immediate risk of eviction or displacement. However, I do want to emphasize, this is a lot of different kinds of things, but even if you can't demonstrate one of these things, if you don't have one of these kinds of documents that are listed here, definitely encourage folks to call the call center, reach out to one of the partners. Like I said, we really work with each applicant to sort of meet them where they are and try to identify what kinds of documentation could demonstrate their eligibility for the program. And there are certain aspects of the program where you can sign a self-attestation. So don't get put off by if you're concerned like you don't have every single piece of this documentation. Definitely go in, start an application, talk to the call center or one of the partners, because you may indeed qualify. So the documentation that we need from the property manager or the landlord, W-9, we need a W-9 form from them. And some of these other pieces of information are things that allow us basically to make a direct payment to the landlord or the property manager, a proof of property ownership for them, and the arrearage documentation like their rent ledger or their past due notices, and contact information for the tenant, including sort of cell phone or email. And again, that helps us make the connection to the tenant, since this application can be filed by either. It can be started by either the landlord or the tenant. So one thing I will note is that in the event that a tenant is applying for assistance and their landlord is unwilling or unable to respond or agree to participate in the program, we are able to make payments directly to a tenant. However, our preference is definitely to get the property manager or the landlord involved. If they agree to participate in the program, that provides some additional protections for the tenant. They can't evict a tenant during the period of time that we are providing the rental assistance for. So it's definitely better for both the landlord and the tenant if both parties are participating in the application. So that's the rent relief program. And in a minute, we're going to go to give everyone an opportunity to ask questions. But first, I also just want to give folks a heads up about some assistance that's not available quite yet, but it's coming very soon, and want to make sure that folks are aware of this resource as well. In addition to the rental assistance, Rhode Island received $50 million for a homeowner assistance fund. So rent relief is helping renters and their landlords. Homeowners Assistance Fund is designed to help homeowners who are having trouble with their housing costs or their utilities. So that program is eligible for folks are higher incomes are eligible for this program up to 150% of area median income. That's almost $117,000 for a family of 3 in most parts of the state. Folks can qualify for up to $50,000 in assistance or up to 24 months, whichever is you can get up to 24 months of assistance for up to $50,000. Those eligible expenses can be things like your mortgage payment, past due mortgage payments, ongoing mortgage payments, utility arrearages, like we were just talking about with the rental assistance program, reductions on your principal, and other housing related costs like your property taxes, condo fees, homeowners insurance, property insurance, things like that. So as I said, that program is not up and running yet. However, we have set up a landing page, and the address for it is right there on the screen, www.rihousing.com/HAFRI. Folks can go to that website. You can find out a little more about the program, but you can also register so that when we're ready to launch the program or have additional program updates, you'll get an email alerting you to that. So definitely encourage any homeowners who are struggling with their payments to check out that website, get registered so that you can learn more about the program. And that is the presentation. So with that, I'm going to just stop sharing screen so I can see everybody. And I would be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
So let's see. I see. Is there anything in the chat? I see that there's one message, but I can't see it.
So Mary Kate, also from Rhode Island Housing, has put some materials in the chat. Thank you very much, Mary Kate. So she put up some the Spanish language web page is up there. We can assist people in many different languages. So if somebody's calling into the call center and doesn't speak English, there's a lot of other languages that they can be assisted in. She has also posted up here the one pager on the rent relief program. So again, that is English and Spanish, I believe, and provides some of the details that we've gone over tonight, as well as what pages to go to and the numbers to call and everything to get more help. Also, she included the list of the partner agencies. So if you click on that partners link, that will take you to all of the partners who are helping us implement the program on the ground.
Thank you. Do any of our guests have questions? If you do, please raise your hand or type them into the chat. Or if either of the other reps, I have a couple of questions, but Rep Knight, Rep Donovan?
I actually see one question that just came up.
Okay.
It says, will the presentation be available to reference for details? So we can definitely make that available to you, reps, so that you can put that up on your websites for folks to reference. And I believe you'll also be posting this presentation, correct?
We will,
That's
yes.
correct. Yep. And it sounds like, Amy, that most, if not all, the information for sure can be accessed right off that website, right? RentReliefRI.
Can, and there are some frequently asked questions on there as well. So some of the stuff that we didn't get as much into the weeds on, but that people might have questions about, you may find your question answered right there in the FAQs on the website.
I think it's not so much a question, but what I'm hearing from you, Amy, and I know I know from our offline talks as well, is that if people find themselves in need, they should definitely call. You know, not everybody's going to be ready with every single form and all collated in what they're supposed to do. Bring what you have, call, and Rhode Island Housing is going to help you out as best they can. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, obviously, we try to list out all the stuff so that people know and they can try to get ready ahead of time. And certainly we're able to process things more quickly when all of that documentation is there. But we're definitely ready to work with each and every applicant that comes in and help them get to the point on their application that they need to be approved if they meet the eligibility requirements.
That's great.
Yes, and following up on that, I have heard that folks who often are most in need of this are folks who are least likely to have receipts. For example, folks who get paid in cash or folks who pay their rent in cash. And your counselors will be able to help people attest to their eligibility if they aren't able to come up with the appropriate paperwork.
Yep, absolutely. And folks really work again with each person one-on-one. Maybe they withdraw the same amount of money from their bank account every month to make their payment. That can show a pattern of payment. And again, if we have to, there are certain criteria that we are able to get a self-attestation, but we always try to get that documentation if we can. Start with looking for that documentation, but we are definitely working every way that we can within the program parameters to make sure that folks can get to that eligibility criteria with the documentation that they have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there other questions?
I don't see any.
Okay, well, the information, Amy, that you shared was excellent, and the guidance that you provided to the website and to the phone number, I think will help a lot of folks who are looking for more information about these programs. It is a significant amount of money that we have here, so I'm optimistic that it will help a lot of people. I don't know if you've assessed the need out there in the state, but this is a significant amount of money that our federal delegation has provided to us to try to meet the housing needs of our neighbors and friends.
Yep, it absolutely is, and the resources are here if folks meet the eligibility criteria and have a need. So we definitely tell your friends, tell your relatives, tell the people you run into at the grocery store. If they need help, check out the website, see if you fit those criteria, absolutely apply. We've got the resources there to help people.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Can
And
we
I'll definitely
get the-
post online. I'll definitely post not only online, but I'll go around town with the flyers and I'll make them available at the library, at the food pantry, and a few other community bulletin boards in town.
Great, thank you so much.
Good. Rep. Knight, did you want to say
I was
something?
just going to say, just for one last pass at the phone number, because you can do a website, but you can also call the call center, is 855-608-8756.
Absolutely.
Okay. And Amy, one more mention of the website, would you please?
Sure. RentReliefRI.com. Very easy.
Great. Very good.
Great.
Okay. Well,
Great.
if there are no other questions, then I really want to thank you very much, Amy, for coming and sharing this information with the East Bay. We appreciate the clarity of the presentation. Thank you so much for that. And again, we will share it around.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye. Thanks for joining.